菜根谭
Tending the roots of wisdom.
273相由心生，相随心灭。
273. Forms arise from the mind. Forms dissolve with the mind.
菜根谭原文：激动的公饮宜为蛇蝎，寝食是为伏虎。此中魂是杀机，念息的石虎可作海鸥，蛙声可当鼓吹，处处俱见真机。
白话文注解：一个工于心机的人，会把杯中的公饮误看成蛇蝎，躺着的石头被认为是趴着的老虎，觉得处处都是杀机。一个心平气和的人，会把石虎视作翱翔的海鸥，把聒噪的蛙声当作奏响的乐曲，眼中尽是祥和之气，从中可以看到人生真谛。
273-1. A person adept at scheming might mistake the reflection of a bough in a cup for a snake or scorpion, or perceive a reclining stone as a crouching tiger, seeing danger everywhere. Conversely, someone calm and composed may view a stone as a soaring seagull, and the noisy croak of a frog as a harmonious melody. Their eyes are full of peacefulness, and from within, they can glimpse the true essence of life. Translated by Bayandefu.
273-2. A calculating person tends to see snakes in the shadow of a bough, and crouching tigers in the shape of stone sleeping pillows. Everything is sinister. For a person of calm mind, a stone tiger can become a seagull and the sound of frogs is sweet music. Everything touched is truly genuine. Translated by Robert Aitken Daniel W. Wyckoff. 273-3. A person with a wicked and restless mind tends to see ghosts and spirits everywhere. He imagines the reflection of a bough in his wine cup to be a snake, and the rock half hidden in the undergrowth to be a lurking tiger. Whatever he looks upon has a sinister connotation. On the other hand, a person with a tranquil and trusting mind gazes upon a rock and sees a seagull, where others see a tiger. The raucous clamor of frogs is sweet music to him, and whatever he comes into contact with assumes an auspicious aspect. Translated by Paul White.
273-4. A person who is cunning may mistake the reflection of the bough in a cup for a snake or scorpion, and a lying stone may be perceived as a tiger ready to pounce, seeing danger everywhere. On the other hand, a person with a calm and peaceful mind sees the stone as a soaring seagull, and the noisy croaking of frogs as a harmonious melody. Their eyes are filled with a sense of tranquility, revealing the true essence of life. Translated by Wen Lin.
274来去自如，融通自在。
274. Move freely, flow effortlessly, and merge with ease.
菜根谭原文：身如不系之舟，一任流行弹指，心似寄挥之木，何妨刀割相图。
白话文注解：身体如同没系缆绳的一叶扁舟，随波逐流，欲砍而止，一切听凭自然。内心就像一颗已经燃烧过的木头，任凭刀割斧砍，有抹相图，又有何妨？
274-1. The body is like a flat boat without mooring ropes, drifting with the currents, stopping when it encounters obstacles, entirely subject to nature's whims. The inner self is akin to a piece of wood that has already been burned. Whether cut by a knife, chopped by an axe, or oiled and scented, what harm can it do? Translated by Bayandefu.
274-2. When the body is like an unmoored boat, it floats about until it bumps the shore. When the mind is like ashes, what harm is there in being cut up by knives or wiped out by scent? Translated by Robert Aitken Daniel W. Wyckoff. 274-3. The body is like an untethered boat, it drifts with the current until it bumps against the shore. The heart is like a cracked piece of wood, it does not care whether it is to be chopped up or smeared with oil and perfume. Translated by Paul White.
274-4. The body is like an untied flat boat, drifting with the current, stopping when encountering obstacles, all subject to nature's will. The inner self is like a piece of wood that has already been burned. Whether cut with a knife, chopped with an axe, oiled, smeared, or fragranced, what harm could it do? Translated by Wen Lin.
275. 忧喜取舍，行气用事。
275. The choice between sorrow and joy depends on how one perceives the forms and qualities of things.
菜根谭原文：人情听莺啼则喜，闻蛙鸣则艳，见花则思培之，遇草则欲去之，但以行气用事。若以性天视之，何者非自明其天机，非自畅其生意也。
白话文注解：按一般人的常情来说，听到黄莺婉转的叫声就高兴，听到青蛙咕咕的叫声就讨厌，看到美丽的花卉就想栽培，看到野草就想铲除。这都是单凭外在的形象气质看待事物。假如按照生物的自然天性，客观地说，莺啼蛙鸣，哪一个不是在抒发他们自己的情绪？花开草长，哪一个不是在舒展他们自己蓬勃的生机呢？
275-1. According to the usual tendencies of people, they are pleased to hear the melodious call of the yellow oriole, but might find the croaking of a frog annoying. They feel inclined to cultivate beautiful flowers but wish to eradicate wild grasses. These perceptions are solely based on the external appearance of things. However, if we consider the natural instincts of living beings objectively, both the oriole's singing and the frog's croaking are expressions of their own emotions. The blooming flowers and growing grasses are both manifestations of their inherent vitality. Translated by Biandefu.
275-2. It is human to delight in the singing of nightingales and to tire of the croaking of frogs. It is also human to want to cultivate flowers and get rid of weeds. These are all functions of our likes and dislikes. But considering the nature of things, aren't each of them, the nightingale, the frog, the flowers, and the weeds, expressions of their own natures, their own expressions of life? Translated by Robert Aitken Daniel W. Wyckoff. 275-3. It is normal for people to find the cry of the oriole pleasant and the croak of the frog irksome. It is also normal for people to cultivate flowers when beholding them and to eradicate weeds when seeing them. These are simply our reactions to external images and things. If we examine the basic essence of things, we will recognize that the oriole and the frog alike utter cries prompted by their innate natures, and both flowers and weeds flourish at the dictate of their vital springs. Translated by Paul White.
275-4. In the ordinary course of events, people generally feel happy when they hear the melodious singing of a nightingale, and annoyed by the croaking of a frog. When they see beautiful flowers, they want to cultivate them, and when they see weeds, they want to remove them. This is all based on the external appearance and temperament of things. However, if we objectively consider the natural instincts of living beings, the singing of the nightingale and the croaking of the frog are both expressions of their own emotions. The blooming flowers and growing weeds are both manifestations of their vibrant vitality. Translated by Wen Lin.
276. 梦幻空华，真如之月。
276. Illusory and empty, like the moon of ultimate reality.
菜根谭原文：发落齿书，任幻形之凋谢，鸟吟花开，识自性之真如。
白话文注解：人老色衰，头发掉落，牙齿稀疏，原本自然，所以大可顺其自然而不必悲伤。小鸟啼鸣，鲜花盛放，由此可以认识自然生生不灭的道理。
276-1. As humans age, their appearance changes. Hair falls, teeth become sparse. This process is natural, and it's best to accept it without sorrow. Birds chirp, and flowers bloom. From this, we can grasp the principle of the perpetuity of nature and life. Translated by Biandefu.
276-2. Hair and teeth falling out are only the decay of the flesh. Birds singing and flowers blooming enable us to recognize the true essence of our nature. Translated by Robert Aitken Daniel W. Wyckoff. 276-3. Hair and teeth fall out in accordance with the vicissitudes of the flesh. From the songs of the birds and the blooming of the flowers we can realize that the law of nature is everlasting. Translated by Paul White.
276-4. As people age, their hair may fall out, and their teeth may become sparse. These natural processes should be accepted without sorrow. The singing of birds and the blooming of flowers exemplify the eternal cycle of nature. Translated by Wen Lin.
277. 欲心邪念，虚心正念。
277. Desires and errant thoughts come from a restless mind, while an open and empty mind harbors right thoughts.
菜根谭原文：欲其中者，播废寒潭，山林不见其迹；虚其中者，凉生酷暑，朝市不知其宣。
白话文注解：内心充满欲望，深含平静的潭水也会看作波涛汹涌；住在深山也体会不到宁静。内心毫无欲望，即使在盛夏季节也会有凉爽的感觉；住在闹市也不会察觉喧嚣。
277-1. With a heart full of desires, even a serene and calm pond might appear to have tumultuous waves. Living deep within the mountains, one might still not experience tranquility. However, with a heart free from desires, even during the height of summer, there can be a sense of coolness. And residing in a bustling city, one may not perceive the noise. Translated by Biandefu.
277-2. A covetous mind can heat up a cool pond and will find no quiet even in the depths of mountains and forests. An emptied mind can cool oppressive summer heat and be unconscious of the clamor at a market. Translated by Robert Aitken Daniel W. Wyckoff. 277-3. A heart filled with desires could create surging waves on a frozen pond. A person with such a heart would not find tranquility even in the depths of the mountains and forests. On the other hand, a man whose heart contains no distracting thoughts would find even the dog days cool, and would not notice the hubbub even in a crowded market. Translated by Paul White.
277-4. When the heart is filled with desires, even the calm and serene pond water may appear turbulent, and living in the deep mountains may not provide a sense of tranquility. On the other hand, a heart devoid of desires can experience coolness even in the height of summer, and remain oblivious to the noise while dwelling in a bustling city. Translated by Wen Lin.
278. 富者多忧，贵者多嫌。
278. The wealthy often have many worries, and the privileged often face numerous dangers.
菜根谭原文：多藏者厚亡，故之富，不如贫之无虑；高布者极颠，故之贵，不如见之长安。
白话文注解：财富聚集的愈多，愈担惊受怕，可见富人不如穷人那样更无忧无虑；爬得愈高，跌得也会愈惨，可见高官不如平民那样更逍遥自在。
278-1. The more wealth accumulates, the more anxiety and fear it brings. This illustrates that the rich are often less carefree than the poor. The higher one climbs, the harder the fall can be. This shows that high-ranking officials are often less free-spirited than commoners. Translated by Biandefu.
278-2. Those who hoard great riches perish anyway. Being rich is not as carefree as being poor. Those who climb in life fall quickly anyway. Those highly placed do not rest as easy as the lowly and common. Translated by Robert Aitken Daniel W. Wyckoff. 278-3. When a man accumulates a great store of wealth, he becomes susceptible to losing a large fortune. From this we can know that a rich man has more worries than a poor man. When a man ascends to a lofty position too quickly, it is hard for him to avoid toppling to the ground. From this we can know that a man of high rank does not rest as easy as a commoner. Translated by Paul White.
278-4. The more wealth accumulates, the more one may be burdened with anxiety and fear, indicating that the rich are not as carefree as the poor. Similarly, the higher one climbs, the more disastrous the fall, suggesting that high officials are not as at ease as commoners. Translated by Wen Lin.
279. 读一松间，谈经竹下。
279. Reading the Book of Changes among the Pines. Discussing its principles beneath the bamboo.
菜根谭原文。读一小窗，丹砂沿松间之路，谈经五岸，保心宣竹下之风。
白话文注解：清晨在窗下诵读易经，用松树上采集的露珠研磨丹砂为墨；午后在书案旁谈经论道，竹林清风传颂着悠扬的保心钟声。
279-1. In the early morning, reciting the I Ching beneath the window. Grinding ink with cinnabar and dewdrops from pine trees for calligraphy. In the afternoon, discussing classics and philosophy by the writing desk. The gentle breeze in the bamboo grove carries the distant and melodious sound of beautifully resonating bells. Translated by Biandefu.
279-2. As one studies the Book of Changes by the window in the morning, one grinds the ink stick with the dewdrops from the pine trees. While discoursing on the classics by the table at noon, one hears the jade chimes announce the breeze in the bamboos. Translated by Robert Aitken Daniel W. Wyckoff. 279-3. Reading the Book of Changes by an open window in the early morning, use the dew dripping from the pine trees to make cinnabar ink with which to underline passages of outstanding wisdom. At noon, standing by the study table expounding on Buddhist scriptures, tap the jade chimes and let their tinkling be carried far and wide by the wind in the bamboos. Translated by Paul White.
279-4. In the early morning, I recite the I Ching beneath the window, using dewdrops collected from pine trees to grind the cinnabar for annotation. In the afternoon, by the desk, we discuss classics and philosophy. And the gentle breeze in the bamboo grove carries the distant and melodious sound of the sacred bell. Translated by Wen Lin.
280. 人为伐去，天机自然。
280. When humans lack interest, the celestial mechanisms unfold naturally.
菜根谭原文。花居盆内中爬生机，鸟落笼中便捡天去。不若山间花鸟错集成文，翱翔自若，自是悠然会心。
白话文注解：花栽植在盆中，便缺乏自然生机；鸟关进笼中，便减少天然情趣。不如山间的野花，天空自由飞翔的小鸟，让人看起来更加赏心悦目。
280-1. Flowers planted in pots lack the natural vitality they would have in the wild. And birds kept in cages lose their innate spontaneity. Wildflowers in the mountains and birds soaring freely in the sky are much more pleasing to the eye, as they exude a sense of unbounded beauty. Translated by Biandefu.
280-2. Flowers in pots ultimately lack the will to live, just as birds in cages are reduced in their natural joy. Isn't it much better to let birds and flowers shape their random pattern in the mountains, soaring and flourishing freely and naturally, expressing themselves? Translated by Robert Aitken Daniel W. Wyckoff. 280-3. When a flower is planted in a pot it may wax luxuriant, but in the end it will lack the vitality of natural growth. When a bird is housed in a cage it may sing as before, but its natural exuberance will be decreased. The captive flower and bird will not be like the flowers and birds which mingle freely in the mountains, and form that natural tableau which so delights people's hearts. It is the freedom and contentment of the wild bird soaring flight that enables a person to grasp the zest of nature. Translated by Paul White.
280-4. Flowers planted in pots lack natural vitality, and birds confined in cages lose their innate charm. It's not as pleasing to the eye as wild flowers in the mountains and birds freely soaring in the sky. Translated by Wen Lin.